I was only supposed to help carry boxes. My mom had told me her friend needed an extra set of hands since she was moving some things around the house. Nothing more. A favor. An errand. But the moment the door shut behind me, the air in that quiet living room felt different. She stood there, mid-40s, hair tied back but a strand already slipping loose against her cheek, a faded cardigan wrapped around her like she was protecting herself from something more than just the chill. "Thanks for coming," she said, her voice soft, lower than I remembered it from family gatherings. She didn't meet my eyes right away, just gestured toward the hallway where the boxes were stacked. "No problem," I replied, maybe a little too quickly, maybe a little too eager. The boxes weren't heavy, not really. I carried them one by one to the corner she pointed out. She hovered nearby, smoothing down folded blankets, adjusting books that didn't need adjusting. It was clear she wasn't really watching the boxes. She was watching me. Or maybe she was watching herself watching me. There were pauses in our small talk, and in those pauses I felt more than silence. The ticking of the wall clock. The faint smell of coffee left too long in the pot. My own heartbeat, thudding like I'd run upstairs I hadn't. "You've grown taller," she said suddenly, almost like she was scolding herself for saying it. Her eyes darted up, then away again. I laughed nervously, rubbing the back of my neck. "Yeah, I guess so." The way she stood, half-turned, one hand gripping her sleeve, made me feel like I shouldn't have laughed. Like she'd been braver than she meant to be just by pointing it out. When the last box was in place, I lingered. My job was done. I should have said goodbye, but I didn't. Neither did she. Instead, she offered coffee. A simple gesture, except her voice cracked ever so slightly when she said it, like she was testing the ground under both our feet. I nodded, even though I don't really drink coffee. The kitchen was warm compared to the living room, sunlight spilling through the half-open blinds, catching in her hair. She poured carefully, shoulders tense, fingers trembling just enough to notice when she slid the mug across the counter. I didn't drink it right away. I was too aware of her standing across from me, leaning lightly on the edge of the counter, as though her knees might give way. We spoke about work, about how time flies, about nothing at all. But every word carried weight it shouldn't have. Every pause stretched a second too long. At one point, her hand brushed mine when she reached for a napkin. Neither of us pulled back immediately. The air shifted, heavier, quieter. Her phone buzzed on the counter, screen lighting up with a name I didn't recognize. She didn't reach for it. Instead, her eyes flicked to mine, holding them just a fraction too long. And in that moment, with the unanswered call vibrating between us, I realized she wasn't going to open the door just yet. Not for me. Not for anyone. Her phone finally stopped buzzing, but the silence it left behind felt louder than the ring itself. I took a sip of the coffee, bitter and too strong, anything to avoid the weight of her eyes still fixed on me. But I couldn't avoid it for long. "You don't have to stay," she said softly, almost apologetically. "I've already taken enough of your time." The way she said it, it wasn't about the boxes or the coffee. It was about me being there at all. I set the mug down, careful not to spill, careful not to move too quickly. "It's fine. I didn't have plans anyway." Her lips curved, not into a smile exactly, more like a shadow of one. "At your age, you should have better things to do on a weekend than carrying boxes for someone like me." That line, someone like me, it stuck. She said it with a sharpness, almost self-defense, like she'd already judged herself before I had the chance. I didn't know how to answer without saying too much, because the truth was I didn't mind being there. I liked it, more than I should have. I knew bits of her story. Divorced. 2 years now. My mom had mentioned it casually, like neighborhood gossip. But sitting across from her, watching the way her fingers kept tugging at the hem of her cardigan, I saw what those 2 years must have cost her. "I never thought I'd be here," she murmured suddenly, eyes lowering to the coffee in her hands. "Middle of my 40s. Alone. Asking favors from kids half my age." Her voice broke on that last part, and she quickly added, "Not kids, I cut her off gently." I get it. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavier. It carried things neither of us were ready to admit. I thought about saying more, about telling her she wasn't old, that she wasn't some sad story. But the words stuck in my throat. Not because I didn't believe them. I did, but because saying them would mean something else. Something we weren't ready to face. Still, I couldn't stop watching the way her eyes lingered when she finally looked up again. It wasn't just me who felt it. That much I knew. "Do you remember," she asked after a long pause, "the summer your mom brought you over for the barbecue? You were still in high school. You helped me set up the chairs in the yard." I remembered. I remembered too well. The way she had laughed at some dumb joke I made, the way I'd noticed her that day differently than before. Back then, I told myself it was just a passing thought. But hearing her bring it up now, I realized maybe it hadn't only been me. "I remember," I said quietly. Her hand was resting on the counter between us, close enough that I could see the faint lines on her skin, the way her fingers trembled just slightly. My own hand shifted, not enough to touch, but closer than I should have allowed. For a moment, neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. The silence filled every corner of the kitchen. And then, her pinky brushed mine, whether by accident or choice, I couldn't tell. But she didn't pull away. Neither did I. ChatGPT said, the brush of her pinky against mine had barely settled in my chest when the sharp knock at the front door shattered it. She jerked her hand back, almost spilling her coffee. "That must be," her voice caught, like she wasn't sure what to say next. I froze. My mind ran too fast. Her ex? A neighbor? My mom? Whoever it was, they didn't belong in this moment. "Stay here," she whispered, standing quickly and smoothing her cardigan as if it could erase what had just passed between us. I listened to the door open, to voices low and muffled. A man's voice. Too familiar. My chest tightened. "Just checking in," the man said. Her ex-husband. I'd seen him once before when they were still together, and I remembered the way he looked at her like she was a possession, not a person. She answered him too calmly, her tone polite but clipped. "Thanks, but I'm fine." Really. Every second stretched as I sat hidden in her kitchen, wondering if he'd step inside, if he'd see me standing there like I didn't belong. Finally, the door shut again. Silence. Then footsteps back toward me. She leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. For a moment, she looked more fragile than I'd ever seen her. "He just shows up sometimes. Says it's to make sure I'm okay." Her voice softened, bitter around the edges. "It's not about me. It's about control." I didn't know what to say, so I stepped closer. "You don't owe him anything." Her eyes snapped open, and for the first time there was fire in them. "You don't understand. He'll always find a way to make me feel small. And the worst part, sometimes I let him." The words hung heavy, and in that rawness, she looked at me differently, like I was something solid in a world still shaking beneath her feet. The space between us shrank too quickly. I don't even remember moving closer, but suddenly we were standing almost chest to chest. Her breath brushed against me. My hand twitched, wanted to reach for her face, but stopping short. "This is wrong," she whispered, though she didn't step back. "Then why can't I stop?" I asked, my voice breaking before I could steady it. Her lips parted, just barely, like she was about to say something, like she might close the distance. The sound of my phone buzzing on the counter snapped us apart. We both turned, too quickly, guilty in our own skin. The screen lit up with a name, my mom. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Her eyes flicked from the phone to me, and the silence between us tightened until it almost hurt. Neither of us spoke, but everything was louder now. The pounding in my chest, the tremor in her hands, the way the air between us felt impossible to breathe. And in that silence, I knew we'd just crossed a line we couldn't step back from. Her hands wouldn't stop trembling. She kept rubbing her palms against her jeans, as if she could wipe away whatever had just passed between us. I wanted to reach for her, steady her, but the words tumbled out instead. "Why do you keep pulling me in, then acting like it's nothing?" Her eyes flashed. "Because it isn't nothing." Her voice cracked, sharp with fear. "It's everything, and it terrifies me." I stood frozen, torn between wanting to comfort her and wanting to shake the truth out of her. Then stop pretending you don't feel it. Her laugh was hollow, bitter. You think it's that simple? You're 22. You have your whole life. I'm... She cut herself off, turning away, but I caught the shine in her eyes. You're what? I pushed my chest tight. Too old? Too broken? Too scared? She spun back to me, her face flushed. Yes, all of it. And I hate that you look at me like I'm worth more than I am. Her voice broke on the last word, and suddenly I couldn't hold myself still anymore. I stepped forward close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from her skin. You are worth more. You always have been. I stopped, choking back the jealousy that surged in me. He never deserved you. Her lips trembled. She dropped her gaze, whispering, and what if you don't either? The silence after that hit harder than her words. I should have walked away, but then she brushed past me, and her arm grazed mine. That tiny contact set my whole body on fire. You think I don't notice the way you look at me? She whispered, her back to me now. But I do, and it scares me because I can't stop looking back. The words knocked the air from my lungs. She was finally admitting it, and yet the weight of it felt unbearable. I stepped behind her, close enough that my breath stirred the loose strands of her hair. Then why are we still pretending? Her shoulders rose and fell with a sharp inhale. She turned her head just enough that I could see the corner of her mouth. Because once we cross that line, we can't go back. The room pulsed with silence, broken only by the faint hum of the refrigerator. My hands hovered, useless, inches from her waist. If you walk out that door now, she whispered, maybe we save ourselves. And if I don't, my voice cracked raw. She finally turned, slowly, her face inches from mine. Her eyes searched me, desperate and conflicted, her lips parting like she wanted to speak but couldn't. I leaned in, just enough for the air between us to change, heavy and undeniable. Her breath caught, and right before our lips could meet, her phone lit up on the counter, buzzing loud in the silence. She stiffened, eyes darting to the name glowing on the screen. Everything stopped. The name glowing on her phone made my stomach twist. Mom. My mom. Her hand hovered over the phone, frozen, before she turned the screen face down. You didn't tell me she called you. I said, my voice harsher than I intended. Her lips parted, her face pale. She came to me weeks ago. She asked me to look out for you, to keep an eye on you. The words landed like stones in my chest. So this, I gestured between us, the air still charged with the almost kiss. Was that? You were doing her a favor. No, she snapped, tears flashing in her eyes. Don't twist it. That's how it started. Yes, but it's not what this is anymore. But the doubt was already clawing inside me. And when you locked the door that day, when you whispered you wanted me to stay, was that you? Was that just guilt? She flinched like I'd struck her. Don't. I pressed on, unable to stop. You've been lying to me since the beginning. I was protecting you, she burst out, her voice shaking. If she knew she cut herself off, choking on the words. What? I demanded, stepping closer, needing her to say it. Her breath shuddered out, her hands tightening into fists. If she knew how badly I wanted you, she'd never forgive either of us. The silence that followed was jagged, sharp. I backed away, my chest burning. So all this time, you were hiding me from her, not from yourself. Her face crumpled. I didn't want you to hate me. The bitterness on my tongue was impossible to swallow. Too late. The room went dead quiet. She stood there, trembling, fighting back tears, while I felt every nerve in me fray at once. But then, she moved. She crossed the distance and grabbed my wrist, holding me with a strength I didn't expect. Listen to me, she whispered fiercely. I made mistakes. I should have told you. But don't you dare believe for 1 second that I don't feel this. Her eyes locked on mine, wide, desperate. Every time I tried to pull away, it wasn't because I didn't want you. It was because I wanted you too much. Her confession tore the ground out from under me. My anger, my jealousy, all of it tangled with something hotter, something I couldn't contain. Then prove it, I whispered back. Her grip tightened, her lips parting as if she might finally close the distance, finally shatter every rule we'd been clinging to. But before anything could happen, her phone buzzed again, louder this time, vibrating across the counter. We both turned toward it, dread filling the air. The screen flashed with a new message. From my mom. Why haven't you told him the truth yet? The message burned into my mind. Why haven't you told him the truth yet? I stared at her, my throat dry. What truth? Her face drained of color. She sank into the chair like her knees had given out. For a long moment, she said nothing, just pressed her palms to her face. Finally, her voice came out muffled, broken. She knows. Your mom. She's known about my feelings for weeks. She told me if I didn't end this, she would. The air in my chest turned to stone. So all the pulling away, the half-words, wasn't about you being scared. It was about her. No, she said sharply, looking up now, her eyes wet. It was both. I was scared of myself, scared of how much I wanted you. But I couldn't, her voice cracked. I couldn't stay away. I leaned back against the counter, my arms trembling from the weight of it all. So now what? Do we pretend this never happened? Do we walk away before we've even started? Her silence was louder than anything she could have said. I took a step toward her, then another, until I was standing right in front of her. She looked up at me, eyes wide, shimmering, her breath unsteady. I need you to tell me the truth, I whispered. Not for her, not for anyone else, just for me. Do you want this? Her hand shook, but she didn't look away. She nodded, almost imperceptibly at first, then firmer. Yes. God, yes. The sound ripped something open in me. All the anger, all the fear, all the restraint snapped. My hand lifted, hovering by her cheek, close enough to feel the warmth of her skin but not quite touching. Then stop hiding, I said, my voice breaking. Her eyes fluttered shut, her lips parting as though she was surrendering to something she'd been holding back for years. I closed the last inch between us, not with a kiss, but with my forehead resting gently against hers. For a moment, the world narrowed to just her breath mingling with mine, our hearts pounding in sync. This could ruin everything, she whispered, her words trembling against me. Or it could be the only thing that saves us, I whispered back. The moment hung there, fragile and infinite. Then her phone buzzed again on the counter. Neither of us moved. Neither of us looked. Her hands found mine, fingers lacing together with a desperation that told me she was choosing, here and now. But what that choice meant, whether it was defiance, surrender, or something in between, I didn't know. All I knew was that she didn't let go. And for now, maybe that was enough. The silence stretched between us, but it wasn't the same as before. It wasn't filled with fear or doubt. It was thick with a strange kind of peace, like both of us had finally stopped running. Her hand still rested in mine, warm, trembling, but certain. You know this changes everything, she whispered. I nodded. It already has. For the first time since I'd walked into her house that evening, she smiled. Not the guarded, polite smile she always used when she tried to hide her feelings, but something unsteady, real. It made her look younger, softer. I don't want to live in the shadows, she said. Not anymore. Not with you. I swallowed hard. So we don't. The words came out simple, but they felt like a vow. And the way her eyes softened told me she heard it the same way. We talked for hours that night, about the fears we'd been carrying, the mistakes we'd made, the people who might not understand. She confessed that she had spent too many years in silence, trapped by what others expected of her. I admitted how long I'd been watching her, waiting for a sign that maybe I wasn't the only one who felt the pull. It wasn't easy. It wasn't clean. Every truth brought another question, another risk. But for once, the weight didn't scare me, because she was beside me. The sky outside her kitchen window was turning pale when we finally stood. She leaned against the doorway as I pulled my jacket on, her eyes tired but glowing in a way that made my chest ache. "Do you regret it?" I asked quietly. She shook her head. "No, not for a second." I smiled, relief rushing through me. "Good, because I think this is only the beginning." For a heartbeat, she just looked at me, like she was memorizing my face, burning it into her memory. Then she stepped closer, pressed her hand to my cheek, and whispered, "Don't disappear on me now." I couldn't if I tried. Her laugh was soft, shaky, but filled with something new, hope. When I finally stepped out into the morning air, the world felt different. Brighter. Unsteady, yes, but alive. I didn't know what people would say, what challenges would come, or whether we'd be strong enough to weather them. But I knew we had stopped pretending. And sometimes, that's the only first step that matters. Speech Balloon, did you enjoy the story? Speech Balloon, what kind of stories would you like to hear next? Back into Next Pointing Right, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps bring more stories like this to life.